No, thank you. And first of all, thanks to Business World for giving me an opportunity to speak on a topic that is very close to me and a topic I care deeply about. But first of all, congratulations to the 30 under 30 for being selected at under such challenging and sort of competitive environment. I'm sure each of you have tremendous passion for what you're doing, and hence you have been selected for this journey. I'm sure you're well qualified to achieve what you have set out to achieve. I am here today to plant the seed of ESG into your DNA and ensure that you're thinking about it as you commence and or continue your journey. 15 minutes is not sufficient to talk about such a complex topic, but I will do my best to address some of the key issues. And obviously, we are always available to discuss any of this further. I think, first of all, to respond to what Anurag has said, that age is not a number. Very true. I think age is, invention and entrepreneurship can occur at any stage. We are also now seeing entrepreneurs who are, in addition to being under 30, which dominates the space, people who have spent many decades in the corporate world, also seeking to be entrepreneurs. It's a brave journey, and I commend you all for commencing it. In fact, one of my earlier companies that we invested in was called Arya.ai, which was founded by entrepreneurs who were both under 30 and now have become a leading AI company in India. So with that, let me turn to the topic that I was given to talk about, which is ESG. As Anurag mentioned, I think ESG is not a fad. ESG is here to stay, and it will increasingly be a part of all business decisions, hopefully sooner rather than later. So to address or to deal with this topic, what I have chosen to do is first discuss what is ESG, why is it important, what can companies or startups do about ESG, and share with you some of the experiences we have had. So let me just begin by a comment by John Elkington, who has coined the famous triple bottom line. He said, what should companies care about? And he says earlier, profit, people, and planet. I couldn't have summarized it better in so eloquently and so eloquently as he has done. So let's deal with what he's saying. He says profit. Of course, we are a business enterprise. So profit drives and is motivates how we take decisions. So that is a key driver. However, it cannot be the only driver. People are important. People meaning, I would say, people who are within the company. That is, a company needs to take care of employees in the best way possible. But also people we deal with, which is, the broader term of stakeholders, who would be representing your suppliers as well as your clients and everyone you deal with. And the third is the planet. At the end of the day, we are all citizens of the world, of course, being citizens of India first, but we all have to care what is the world we are building and what is the world we are leaving behind. So all three aspects are critical in terms of any decision a business makes. Interestingly enough, John Elkington recently has come up with three new words, which he says, look, people, planet, and profit in the current post-COVID environment should be also three other words should be added. One is responsibility, resilience, and regeneration. So essentially, sometimes it's like the coining of a term galvanizes effort towards a particular destination. So let's talk about a couple of other aspects of what I mean by ESG. What does that mean? I think there is a move to say most companies must also move from what is a shareholder return to a stakeholder return and care about what is happening to all the stakeholders that are impacted by the economic activity carried on by a business. A third broad comment I would make is on externalities, and I will define the term shortly. But a comment made by Pawan Sukhdev, a good friend who I work with closely at a company called GIST, he says that today's externalities will be tomorrow's risk and day after tomorrow's costs. So today, if we ignore how we are impacting the world negatively, they will come back and hurt us in the years to come. So it's important that we think about, stakeholders, we think about broader aspects of what happens when we conduct a business. As I said, externalities, which I found a very good definition, is that the impact of economic activity, which is felt by unrelated third parties. So this is an externality. I mean, if a company, for example, dumps effluent without treating it into the water bodies, this is a negative externality. If a company on the other side is producing solar energy and is profitable, it is replacing what was fossil fuels with renewable energy. So that creates a positive externality. So these are impacts, two simple examples, but these are impacts felt by third parties who are not necessarily benefiting as shareholders in this venture. So let's begin with a simple definition of ESG. So E stands for environment, and where we will spend more time on. And I'll come back to that later to say, look, what is it that E stands for? But the other two, let's deal with first. One is the social. And so it's like, how is your business impacting society at a broader level? And you need to think deeply about saying that, look, to the extent possible, we are creating a positive impact. And to the extent that we are not, we are minimizing negative impact. I think that is, that comes in terms of either when you're using scarce resources, are you thinking of, energy intensity and water intensity in your production methods? Are you thinking of energy as a cost as well as a resource, a scarce resource that you're using, just as you think of capital efficiency? So we focus on companies that are trying to make the world more energy efficient and saying, look, you conduct your business activities, but you conduct them in an efficient manner. The third is the G, which is the governance. And for investors, I cannot tell you how critical that is now to say, look, people invest in founders or in companies where they say, look, I think the founder has a backbone, he has integrity, and he will run the business in a professional manner. And I think that is becoming increasingly a key part of the metrics by which investors, seek, investments that they are making, or the seek as a quality in the founder that they are investing in. So this is the broad definition of ESG. Why should you care? I think there are many reasons I can cite, but I'll just limit myself to a few. One is that, look, you are a citizen of the world. What happens to the planet impacts you. If you can do less damage and be positive and create positive impact to the extent possible by reducing resource intensity of what you're using and or reducing the intensity of consumption, that leaves a more positive footprint to the world. And there are ways to do that where you're not compromising lifestyles, but at the same time, you're achieving an objective that benefits others. The second, more commercial aspect is that today there are about $267 trillion managed by firms globally. And about 15 to 20% have today said that ESG is an additional benchmark by which we will consider new investments. This number is expected to go to 55% by 2025. So this is like a 3x increase in the allocable capital to investment companies such as yourselves as you grow as well, and others, which will have a metrics that will have a further filter in addition to the commercial viability of ESG to say, look, how are you managing under these conditions? The third is actually when you think about profitability, you have to think about long-term profitability as well, because regulations are also getting tighter. So today, if you're saying, look, I will save a few paisa or save some rupees by not treating the effluent which I'm supposed to treat, and you have a regulatory impact that can kill your business, because obviously nobody will touch you if you are found to be falling foul of the environment laws, etc. So I think while as innovators you have to care about growth, you have to care about profitability, it is important that you do not forget the other aspects, which is effectively the stakeholder analysis and the impact that you leave behind. in terms of how what you do affects everybody. Now to some positive that we are seeing in the under 30 or in the younger generation, largely in Europe to begin with, but also in other parts of the world. What is very interesting is that the younger generation, and I don't fall in that category if my age is considered, but if you consider my enthusiasm, then perhaps I do about the various things I do. But they are voting through their pocketbook, in the sense that, younger people, and that is younger in the 30s, they would invest in funds, and they have seen allocation of capital to funds which are investing in sustainable companies and are investing in ESG. Secondly, they are buying products made by sustainable companies. Perhaps frankly speaking, I'm not seeing that too much in India, but that is just a revolution that is bound to come. But in Europe and other countries, people are, young people are buying based on sustainability practices of the company. So the third thing is there was a study done of increase in market capitalization on companies which are following sustainable practices and those who are not. And there was a distinct difference in terms of companies which achieved a higher market cap growth within that period of the last 3 years. So even from a commercial standpoint, if you want to sell more product, if you want to attract investments, and if you want to attract good talent, being ESG sort of sensitive, and I don't want to use the word compliant because the rules are such where in many instances, it is the company that has to go above and beyond the call of the regulation to say, look, how can I build a sustainable business that achieves profitability in the long run? Number two, takes care of the stakeholders that are involved with me in my journey, even though they may not be shareholders. And number three, fulfilling a broader responsibility that each of us should have towards sort of overall, the planet. Now I wanted to talk about some of the sustainable or ESG type companies which are profitable and we have funded. But I just want to emphasize that this is not about having a company focused solely on that. You can have your own venture serving the motives that you have and serving the objective that you're passionate about. But even within that, if you can reduce the resource intensity of the products you use, of the energy you use, of the water you use, and or sort of improve the utilization of resources, that would also be a great step in the right direction. I think thinking about profitability, when you say, look, I want to think about financial return, I wonder why we don't think about return on energy used, return on water used, and return on sort of the various other resources that you are using during the course of your business activity. So just to talk about a few companies that we have funded, one is a company called Ion Energy, which as of yesterday just was one of the first companies to get an investment from the Amazon Climate Fund. This is a company doing battery management systems in electric vehicles. We are looking at a company doing water purification using electric coagulation to see how we can allow SMEs to meet their obligations with respect to, the environment as well as responsible disposal of effluents. We're looking at a home automation company, which is also a startup, allowing people to measure the various devices and the energy utilization to see if there is ways to save on that. And there are other companies, which is one of the companies which is allowing you to do solar management a lot better and increase the solar efficiency of your portfolio. So these are companies which are directly involved in this space. There are other companies. One I would highlight is a company called Shepherds, which is allowing people to work from home in a more effective, collaborative manner, and at the same time improve productivity. So anytime when you're saying, look, I'm getting more from less, to us, that is a positive sign in ESG sustainability and also the right way of thinking. Effectively to say, look, how do I make what is a better use of a scarce resource to enable us and to enable everybody who is sort of working on problems or using this resource to make sure that we are using that in an effective manner. So in summary, I would want to say that, look, we are set up, as Anurag said, just to correct him. We are in the process of doing this fund. We don't have the fund already set up. I mean, we have the fund set up, but in the process of raising capital. But we felt that catalytic capital devoted to sustainability is very limited. And that's where we want to make a difference. I think that is a broader comment I would make, that, look, whatever goal you're pursuing, I think the objective should be making a difference in what you're seeking to do. Because having small goals is not good enough. Having a big goal and reaching halfway, to my mind, is a better measure of success than having a very, very, I guess, pedestrian goals and achieving them in the manner that, that you do. So I think ESG, in my mind, is, revolves around a combination of, environment, but not in a negative sense, in a more positive sense, to say, look, just as you think of capital efficiency, you need to think about how do we use the other natural resources, how do we use energy in a more, responsible manner, and how do we use water in a more responsible manner. And the fact that, complexity, all these problems are complex, and you have to be familiar and ready to deal with complexity, because the more complex the problem is, and you are one of the few people who has an answer for it, that makes you successful. I mean, there will be a lot of people trying to solve very similar problems. And the differentiator is finding something that you are keen and you're passionate about to solve, doing the hard work that is needed to solve it, and then sort of, being sure that, look, you can make pivots on the way as you need to do, and achieving the success of the goals. I mean, we have a number of companies we work with very closely in trying to achieve this objective. I think to also come back to the point on ESG, it is not a luxury, it is a necessity. I think if you adopt some of these principles earlier on in your journey towards sustainability and towards sort of making a better future for your company, as well as, making a positive contribution, I believe, and I strongly believe, that that will stand you in good stead as you progress your journey in entrepreneurship. Good luck to you on your journey, and I wish you the very best.